What is the price prediction for ICP?
Based on this chart, I see basically I like to trade based on Elliot waves and Fibonacci levels. For ICP, I see a 5-wave move down, like a 5-wave impulsive move down when it started from in 2021 to its bottom in 2023. And a lot of these charts tend to do a corrective move up. They struggle to make new highs or to go back to the highs they had at some point when they were listed, also because the supply might have increased significantly. So a new all-time high in market cap is not necessarily a new all-time high in price. But yeah, I like to look at these Fibonacci levels. So this is basically a Fibonacci retracement from the point it was listed to the bottom. And a lot of coins in the past tend to hit the 618 Fibonacci level when they hit the A wave, like the A corrective wave, and then the C wave usually goes to the 38.2 level, and that would be 45 USD. So this is basically a chart I've been following for the last 1.5 years, and it has played out really well so far.
So it's broken out of that wedge, right? That you
Sure, yeah. And it had a pretty good retest here.
And now you think it's heading to 45?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, you could say, okay, the C wave would be another 5 waves. So something like that. Yeah. I mean, if it happens exactly like that, I don't know. But this would be like a direction I'm looking at. And tokens in the past, like Dash, for example, basically also did the same in 2021.
Okay, so that takes us into early spring 2025, somewhere around March. Now let's look at Bitcoin for context, because it's much more predictable. And then we can talk about what it means for altcoins and ICP specifically later in the year. What is your price prediction for Bitcoin in 2025?
This is my short-term chart. I would say, okay, we have completed wave 1, wave 2, wave 3 is also complete. And now I'm looking at a wave 5 target. And I think we're currently in completion of wave 4. I'm not sure, if it has bottomed at like 91K or if we go to 85K or whatever, but I'm definitely looking at like 120K Bitcoin in spring of this year. But in past bull markets, the altcoin market topped 1 month after Bitcoin topped. So alts continue to rally longer than Bitcoin did. And that also went along with a significant decline in Bitcoin dominance. So I'm mostly using this as an index where we are with the altcoin market. So I think Bitcoin has more upside. We could look at even a longer term chart. I would even say that, what I just showed was like a 5-wave move for this wave 5 right here. But I think we're in the later stages of this Bitcoin bull market. So this started in the bottom when FTX collapsed in like 2022, when Bitcoin was at 15K. And I would say we have already seen wave 1, wave 2, wave 3. Wave 4, we're currently in the later stages of wave 5, which also coincides really well with like a top of Bitcoin in 2025.
Yeah, so you could see it hitting like 125K.
Something like that, yeah, 120K or so, yeah.
Okay.
But then I would exit Bitcoin for the foreseeable future.
Well, so here's what I would say, and this is very interesting. Every single halving year, or year after the halving, 2017, 2021, there's a correction in January. There's a rip up until April and May. There's a small correction, a pretty big correction actually. And then the rest of the year stuff pumps. So it seems like that's playing out perfectly because all your targets seem to be hitting like a wall in April or March or whatever.
Yeah, this is something I'm frequently seeing. Yeah, some coins look like they hit a wall in at the end of 2025, which is something we could see. Like, let's say we see like this is a pretty massive trend, right?
Yeah.
If we look at for a corrective target, it's possible that we get like a very quick flush. And then we get a B, but this B actually like a typical double top scenario at the end of 2025. Or let's say Bitcoin doesn't make a new high, but goes to like, let's say it tops at 120K and then goes to 110 again.
Yeah.
And then just hits us with a brutal 2026 bear market where it goes to, I don't know, 50K, 40K or whatever, maybe even lower. But that could coincide with another massive alt season right here when Bitcoin goes from wherever this corrective move goes to kind of a double top scenario.
Yeah.
Could see something like this happening. I mean, this would be like a favorable outcome for altcoins, right? For our bags. But it could be much worse, like, something like this. But it's possible that, for example, we get... Do you know the Wall Street cheat sheet chart? Where it just shows you like a typical bubble behavior. So this would be like the complacency stage of a market cycle where everybody's like, okay, we're going to new highs, but this is like the typical bull trap. Oh, yeah. Everybody's like, okay, we're going to new highs, but it's not happening. Right?
That's exactly what happened in 2021.
Yeah, with when Bitcoin went to like 69K and then dropped off.
Exactly. And then there was a huge alt season towards the end of the year, right when Bitcoin. So this looks very likely. So we get a bear market in like spring, and then altcoins just do super well into the end of the year. But see, here's the thing: you have ICP hitting a wall in April. Couldn't they continue higher into year end if Bitcoin does something like this? Like if it.
Some might, like Ethereum might, for example. Other coins might possibly make a lower high on a macro scale. So I could see this happening, like many coins making a lower high here, and then just, everything just gets completely trashed in 2026.
Yeah, but see, that's exactly like 2021. It's identical.
Yeah.
Do you have it?
But I don't see Bitcoin making. So if I look at this chart, like this could also be that Bitcoin just barely hits 100K and then drops off again. But yeah, this would be, if we look at this right here, I could imagine that alts have a really good time, January, February, March, possibly, and then have like a brutal drop. This could be 60, 70, 80% drop for many alts. And then they have like another 5 to 10x increase later this year. If you're brave enough, I would probably try to play this with selling here close to a top here and then trying to rebuy this to ride this wave.
I love
And
that.
you definitely don't want to be invested when this happens.
Right, right. Well, it's just so funny that everything's pointing to the repeat of 2021.
And something interesting in 2022,
See, there's
we also
2021,
had
right?
we also had this move right here where a lot of people were still bullish, where a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
people said, okay, we're going for the next for new highs, which was, if you look at this is like a typical ABC. Do you see this?
Oh yeah.
This is like a typical bearish continuation pattern, or you could also say this is a bear flag.
Right.
So this was also a time where you could make a lot of money on alts, because where some alts did like a 3x, 4x from the lows.
Yeah, I
So
remember.
there will be opportunities along the way,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's good to be a little cautious, I would say.
Okay, so in the context of ICP, based on this chart of Bitcoin, you have ICP kind of hitting 45 around spring, like end of March. You have Bitcoin hitting like 125 around the end of March. Then you have the correction, and that lines up perfectly with previous years, just like 2021. We have the correction in the middle of the year, then Bitcoin rallies. What do you think ICP would do in that time, in like towards the back half of the year?
Hmm. Depends on what kind of strength we're getting here. And ICP looked a bit stronger than most alts during this move. It went from like 7 to 14, so doubled here. I would say if we get like a really, really strong move here, then we could say, okay, well, maybe this might be an impulsive move to the upside where we can look at $100 or so. But we really need some strength. Like right now, I'm just holding ICP because I want to, I think higher prices are coming. But what kind of magnitude we're getting to the upside, what kind of strength we have in that move remains to be seen. Right now, I'm just looking at 45 because that is like the most reasonable target.
It could do anywhere from 25 to 100 by spring. Then we're saying things correct, which almost every crypto chart you showed me, it looks like it's correcting in May. And then in the back half of the year, do you think ICP could hit a new high beyond what it hit in?
If we get some higher consolidation, right? If we just if ICP just reaches 45 and then just drops like this,
Yeah.
then I would say, okay, this is really unlikely that we're getting new highs. But if ICP exceeds this 45 target, let's say it goes to 90 or even 100, and then just goes here and then just consolidates here at a higher level, then I would say, okay, we can definitely get a new high. Yeah, if we see something like with WorldCoin, where we just had an ABC and then it just drops massively after that, then that's not a continuation pattern. That's like a pattern where you say, okay, this is a complete move and this trend is done.
So for a very high quality altcoin like ICP, it's possible that we do move up to 45. We consolidate for a little, do what you just showed, which is kind of like that plateau, and it could continue higher. Technically, that would make a lot of sense to you. And
Yeah.
and continuing higher would take it to $100+ at the end of the year.
You have to see. Not possible to tell right now. We
Right,
would
right.
have to see some kind of like this consolidation right here was pretty good. But it didn't go to 20 and then just drop to new lows. It dropped lower, but had some consolidation, which is a good sign.
Right.
Good continuation pattern. You want to see some kind of build up where people are just buying at like a, for ICP, really, this was a significant point because it was the first time in the chart where we actually made a higher low, right? Because before that, it would constantly make lower lows, new low, it would just make new lows, and this is the first time that actually we had like a higher support base. And also what's really interesting with ICP is the RSI is only making higher lows, right?
Yeah.
For all of its existence, you had ICP making new lows in price, but the RSI has always made higher lows, which is commonly referred to as a bullish divergence with the price going lower and the RSI going higher. Can take some time to play out, as we've seen right here. If you would have bet on this bullish divergence right here, then you would have bought at like 5. Not the worst entry point, but it would have still gone lower after that. Also, probably put your eyes on this if you see the RSI breaking down this trend line for the first time. And it's probably also a good sign that this kind of relative strength is over.
Very, very, very interesting. See, this is great. So we have the Elliot waves taking it to $45, or in theory, possibly by March. And then in March, we expect a correction, just like we expected for a lot of assets based on their charts. But we're going to watch the relative strength index in March to see how much it corrects. Because if it invalidates the last 4 years of strength on the RSI, then that's going to be bearish. That would have you making it trend down further. But if it consolidates to strength, then you could have it hitting new highs by year end.
That's a bullish structure.
Yeah.
That's bearish.
Right. Perfect. Very good to know. So, okay, so in a nutshell, that's the conclusion based on where we are now, right?
Yeah, I would see. I mean, I can also show you the Bitcoin dominance chart. Yeah. Which is really, really interesting for profit taking on alts. So like we have seen with past bull markets, right? In past bull markets, we topped when Bitcoin dominance had a huge decrease. So in 2017, Bitcoin dominance went below 40%. And then in 2021, also went to 40%. This is my go-to chart for profit taking on alts. And right now we are kind of at this resistance level right here. So Bitcoin dominance is struggling to stay above 58%. Basically, Bitcoin dominance has only gone up for like the last 2 years.
Right.
But we had a big candle right here that this was like a big rejection that put it below 58% again. And a massive alt season, I would be looking at something like this, like basically the same we have seen right here, a huge decline towards 40%, and these have always happened really, really quickly. So here was like 3 months, or maybe even less, maybe 2 months.
Yeah.
And here it was like 5 months. So yeah.
So heading into the end of 2026, again, this lines up with everything you showed, which is Bitcoin has the correction it does well into spring. It has a correction into.
Yeah, I would like to see a decline in Bitcoin dominance already in the next 3 months. Like probably something like this, like go into 45 and then maybe something like this barely.
See, there it is again though, right? You have the alt season into spring, then you have the correction where Bitcoin probably outperforms in summer, and then you have into year end alt season yet again, and that could validate the ICP thesis that takes it to highs beyond the 45 top in spring. It's possible.
Possible, yeah. I would. I mean, if we see like a huge decrease in Bitcoin dominance, which also depends a lot on Ethereum, because just the market cap of Ethereum has like a huge influence on this chart.
Yeah.
Then I would say okay. I don't really want to take massive profits on alts right now, because it's just alts have basically only lost against Bitcoin for the last 2 years. And in the past, that was not a great point for profit taking.
Right.
You want to take profits when alts gain against Bitcoin, when which is also a good indicator for greed, right? When people
Right.
are just longing Bitcoin, it's not a good indicator for greed, because that's pretty basic. A good indicator for euphoria and greed and stuff like that is when everybody is max longing altcoins. And
Exactly.
we're not seeing that right now. We haven't seen that at all for the last 2 years. I mean, people constantly talk about alt season, saying that we had an alt season because some prices went up of some alts, but this is really a chart that indicates alt seasons, which is when they gain against Bitcoin. And right now, the sentiment in crypto is like, we will never see another alt season. I mean, it's pretty insane, right?
Perfect,
People are
right?
just saying, Bitcoin dominance will never decline. It will, I don't know what they're thinking,
I
that
love
it
it.
will just continue sideways or will continue to go up because of the ETFs. I strongly disagree. I mean, we have seen this kind of downtrend in 2021. We've seen it in 2017. We will see it at some point.
Well, that's the only way to make money is when you're betting against the liquidity from the people
Yes.
yeah, like if the herds are going one direction, then the wall of capital is in the opposite direction, essentially.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah,
So a
so
lot of, if we see that kind of huge alt season,
yeah,
which nobody thinks it's possible right now,
yeah,
we could also exceed a lot of targets that I'm looking at.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
So I think
we
based on what
have
you're
to see it
showing,
at some point. Yeah.
right, so I think based on what you're showing me is, and this is my own personal analysis based on
Mhm.
what you're saying, the Elliott waves take ICP up to 45, something like that, in spring. We get that correction, just like every other halving year, but your charts are confirming that. Then we could either break super bearish, we'll watch the RSI, but we could plateau. Bitcoin dominance could crater into year end, just like it did in 2021. And ICP could hit a price of 100 plus towards the end of the year.
Possible.
Okay. Beautiful. That is genius. Thank you for stopping by. We'll have you on again probably around spring, end of March, so that we can confirm what the charts are telling us about what comes next.